welcome to your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including the search for a purse snatcher in Shelton. Frank Rito will have a look at the potential severe weather headed our way today, and later on we'll have your Nutmeg Sports update. And of course, Donald Eng will join us to take a look back on this day in history. But first, Shelton police are looking for help identifying a woman they say stole the purse of an 86-year-old shopper. Now, police have surveillance photos of that suspect and her car. Now, this happened last Tuesday on May 8th around 3:30 in the afternoon. An 86-year-old woman was shopping at the ShopRite at 875 Bridgeport Avenue in Shelton, and while shopping, that victim walked away from her cart, leaving her purse inside. Police say moments later, the woman depicted in the surveillance photographs stole the purse out of that shopping cart and then exited the store. Now, the suspect left the store in a blue Ford Explorer. That suspect then allegedly went across the street to TJ Maxx and fraudulently used that victim's credit card. Now, police are asking anyone who recognizes the woman or the vehicle to contact them directly at 203-924-1544. And in Monroe, 2 individuals were injured when a chemical fire broke out at Axle Plastics Research Laboratories on Monday. Now, at approximately 2:20 in the afternoon on May 14th, fire, EMS, and police responded to Axle Plastics Research Laboratories located at 50 Cambridge Drive for a reported fire in the building with an injured person. Now, this was a chemical fire that was extinguished prior to the fire department's arrival, that according to the Monroe Fire Volunteer Assistant Chief Kevin Catalano. Now, 2 employees were injured in that incident and transported to the hospital by EMS, said Catalano. Now, the extent of the injuries are still not known. Now, the cause of the incident is under investigation by the Monroe Fire Marshal's Office and the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And police in New Haven are investigating after a 15-year-old boy was shot and injured on Monday night. Now, WTNH reports that officers responded to Orchard Street around 8:45 for a report of a shooting. Authorities say a 15-year-old boy was shot by a masked man while standing on the front porch of a home. They say the teen was taken to Yale New Haven Hospital and is in stable condition. Now, the shooting remains under investigation, and police say there is no suspect information at this time. The New Haven Police Department asks that anyone who may have witnessed the shooting or has information to contact them at 203-946-6304. And in other news, the Stamford Advocate reports that a city police sergeant who took the initiative to hide in some bushes and stake out a car burglar's favorite parking lot is being credited with the arrest of a habitual downtown thief just over the weekend. Now, according to police Captain Dietrich Hohn, around 8:30 p.m. Friday, Sergeant George Moran stepped out of his supervisor's SUV and began waiting in the rear of a parking lot at 595 Summer Street in hopes of finding a car break-in suspect who would frequent in that area. Well, about an hour after he began waiting in the rear of that lot behind some bushes, Moran saw a tall black male with a bald head wearing a blue hooded sweatshirt and using a flashlight in his cell phone to look into car interiors. Now, that man was later identified as 54-year-old Kenneth McKell. Now, Moran then saw that man check several door handles to see if those cars were locked while looking around to see if anyone was watching him. Now, Moran called backup officers to respond silently in their cruisers, but an ambulance heading south on Summer Street with its siren wailing apparently spooked that suspect. That suspect jumped the rear fence of the lot, then ran north through some rear parking lots behind Bedford Street. Moran, however, kept an eye on that suspect, with officers eventually locating him on Bedford Street. Now, McKell, who's from Southwood Drive, was charged with 6 counts of attempted third-degree burglary, possession of burglary tools, as well as hindering prosecution and criminal trespass. And changes are coming to Stratford Elementary Schools next year, though not everyone is happy about it. Now, the Stratford Academy campus will revert from a magnet school to a neighborhood school after a 6-to-1 vote on Monday by the Board of Education. The school board also voted unanimously to scale back busing between the north and south ends of town. Now, those changes, which will take effect next year, were planned to help the district save money in the coming school year budget. Now, school officials say that the district needs to save about $2.5 $2.2 million after the town council authorized a $111 million spending plan for the new school year. Now, many in the audience at Stratford High School jeered the votes as the brief meeting drew to a close. Some could be heard yelling, "Shame on all of you," in the direction of board members, and another person outside the school shouted, "Is this making Stratford great again?" Now, Superintendent Janet Robinson has said that the forced busing that went on in Stratford since 1990 is not needed as much now, since the town's schools are more diverse than they used to be. Now, she said the changes will go into effect next fall. There's more on that story at StratfordStar.com. And the Connecticut State Police are educating the public on swatting, or false threats and emergency calls made to law enforcement. Now, police released a video discussing the harm that these false threats can have. Take a look.
Hello, my name is Dwayne Lopereau with the Connecticut State Police. When police are called to respond to a report of a threat or perceived threat in one of our schools, law enforcement must treat these types of incidents as genuine and respond to them appropriately. Every threat received, even if determined non-credible, is investigated thoroughly and often requires a variety of law enforcement and emergency resources being tied up until that investigation is complete.
Now, police say these false threats can also create panic and alarm in communities that could potentially result in an injury. Police also say it's important to understand that even a threat made in jest is a violation of the law, and the person responsible can face multiple criminal charges that include felony charges of threatening. All right, taking a turn now, let's get a look at the weather with Frank Granito. Frank.
All right, Kate. Well, while we're seeing some partly sunny skies right now, that will not be the case for the rest of the day. We have severe thunderstorms heading our way. Damaging is the word being described by many of the weather outlets. We have a look here from the National Weather Service as they talk about that severe weather outlook for later on today. There are some reports we're discussing wind gusts could possibly reach 70 or 80 miles per hour at points in time during the afternoon. So that will be a major concern. We could see large hail at points in time and strong thunderstorms with a lot of rain rolling through the early afternoon through the early evening. Mostly cloudy overnight, some more passing showers, but again, the damaging time we're concerned about is the late afternoon. Moving forward in the week, we're looking at cloudy skies tomorrow. Cooler out, 60 is the high. Showers passing through the county in the afternoon. We'll see a couple showers lingering overnight, and then heading towards Thursday with a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures back up into the 70s, but again, we're keeping an eye on this afternoon. We'll have more on that later on in the show. For now, we go back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And we are going to step out for a break, come back with your look back on this day in history, more local news, and your Nutmeg Sports Update after this.
Now teeing off, Paul Miller from Miller Nissan in Fairfield.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller. What about my new Sentra?
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
He is never going to retire.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with the Better View, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com. Welcome back to this May 15th edition of your coffee break on the HAN Network. Time to get a look back on this day in history with Donald Ang. Don.
Well, Kate, we're going to start off today in 1618. Johannes Kepler confirms his discovery of the third law of planetary motion. Now, this law states that the orbit of planets is not circular, but it is in fact elliptical, and that the speed they travel around the sun varies. In fact, the Earth's distance from the sun varies by about 3 million miles each year, and the orbital speed is about 2,200 miles per hour faster in January than it is in August. Now, you don't notice this because the acceleration happens over the course of 6 months, but you know what does notice it? The ocean. It's called tidal inequality, and it happens every 6 months. Now we go to 1800. King George III of the United Kingdom survives an assassination attempt by James Hadfield, who was later acquitted by reason of insanity. Now, Hadfield was a former soldier who had suffered severe head trauma in a battle against the French. He believed killing George would bring about the second coming of Jesus Christ. He was ruled insane even though he had meticulously planned the assassination attempt, and he did live 41 more years following the attempt, most of that time confined to Bethlehem Royal Hospital, which was better known by its nickname, Bedlam. In 1928, Walt Disney character Mickey Mouse premieres in the cartoon Plain Crazy. Released as a silent cartoon, it failed to impress test audiences, but after the success of Steamboat Willie later that year, Plain Crazy was re-released with a soundtrack to much greater success. Now, the plot is a bit jarring to modern sensibilities. Minnie gives Mickey a horseshoe for good luck before they take a test flight in a new plane. A series of mishaps then ensues, and he then makes a rather aggressive attempt to get Minnie to kiss him. When she rebuffs him, he throws the horseshoe at her. Finally, now we go to 1988, 30 years ago.
In March 1985, an energetic new leader took power in the Kremlin. As Mikhail Gorbachev met crowds of Russians on tours around the country, opposition to the war.
Now, that was the Soviet Union on this date, 1988, begins its withdrawal from Afghanistan following the 8-year war there. The Soviets had invaded Afghanistan to prop up the communist government in its fight against some Muslim rebels. Following the Soviet withdrawal, the civil war would continue for 9 more years, eventually resulting in the fundamentalist faction of the Taliban taking control of the country in 1996. That's your look back in history for today, May 15th, and I'm Donald Ang.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, in other local news, Darien police are investigating a suspect seen stealing 2 bicycles from the Norotan Heights and Darien Metro North train stations on May 9th. Now, 2 commuters reported their bikes stolen to police after returning home between 7:45 and 8:20 p.m. Now, one victim had locked his bike to a rack at the Norotan Heights train station at about 8:30 in the morning. Police reviewed security camera footage of the station and saw a stocky black male wearing a white t-shirt, blue jeans, and a black backpack leave the scene with that bicycle at about 11:30 in the morning. Now, that bike was valued at $900. Now, security camera footage from the Darien train station showed the same suspect taking another bicycle that had been locked to a rack at about 11:52 in the morning. That second stolen bicycle was valued at $500. Now, no further information was available at this time, but police say they are continuing their investigation of that suspect. And in Ridgefield, school, town, and road repair budgets totaling over $144 million and projected to require a 1.8% tax increase for 2018-2019 will come before voters for approval or rejection at the budget referendum today. That's Tuesday, May 15th, from 6 a.m. to 8 tonight, with all voting happening in the Yanity Gymnasium. Now, voters will also decide 6 questions on $4.2 million worth of proposed capital spending, projects and purchases to be paid for with borrowing in the bond market, so they won't affect taxes next year, though they will add to the debt service in following years. Now, First Selectman Rudy Marconi said no matter how you vote, please get out and vote. Marconi said that voter participation in budget referendums runs in the 12% to 14% range. You can get more on that story at theridgefieldpress.com. And Sujata Gadkar Wilcox will challenge incumbent Dave Ritigliano for the 123rd District seat, which covers portions of Trumbull in the State House of Representatives. Now, Ritigliano has held that seat since 2012. Gadkar Wilcox said her platform will be based on creating a new kind of politics. Now, she said, for too long, we have allowed our representatives in Hartford to finger point and leave messes for others to clean up. Now, Gadkar Wilcox is an associate professor at Quinnipiac University University, where she teaches constitutional law and human rights. She is also a former director of juvenile law at Family Services in Westchester, where she worked to train attorneys and law students in violence and delinquency prevention programs. There is more on her announcement at TrumbleTimes.com. And the New Canaan Board of Selectmen approved a license agreement for the installation and operation of public safety radio equipment on a private barn in the north central part of town. Now, that board agreed to a license agreement paying $1 a year for the next 6 years to the Oak Ridge property owners at the Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday, May 8th. Now, the placement of the equipment is subject to Planning and Zoning Commission approval. That, according to Stuart Sawabini, the New Canaan resident volunteer who's been working to help solve the gap in emergency responder radio service in New Canaan. Now, the two-way radio whip antenna would be used to help emergency responders have coverage for their handheld radios to communicate with headquarters or dispatch when answering 911 calls such as fires, crashes, and medical emergencies. Now, Sawabini told the advertiser that the antenna is expected to fill almost all of the existing gap in two-way radio service in New Canaan, but the exact amount may not be known until it's operating. The high elevation of that location will be helpful, according to Sawabini. Well, there's more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. And in other news, the Muddy Angels headed back out on the road Monday after a brief pit stop at the Norotan Fire Department. Now, members of the Norotan Fire Department and Darien EMS Post 53 were on hand to greet those bikers on Monday. Now, those cyclists are emergency medical services workers riding from Boston to Washington, D.C., all to raise money for ambulance personnel killed in the line of duty. Now, that trip is 7 days and it's a yearly event. You can find out more at DarienTimes.com. All right, we're going to throw it back over to Frank Granito now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
All right, thank you, Kate. We've been following along with the FCIAC baseball playoff race very closely, and a lot was figured out on Monday as 6 more teams join Ridgefield, clinching a playoff spot. Staples has locked up the number 2 seed. Danbury, St. Joe's, Darien, Trumbull, and Greenwich also clinching playoff spots with wins on Monday. Where they are going to finish in the conference, well, that is still to be determined as we have games coming up this afternoon, hopefully, and tomorrow as well. Again, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of rescheduling, postponements, possibly games try to be moved up with the impending weather this afternoon. Other action around the conference yesterday, boys lacrosse, Fairfield Ludlow falls against Wilton 16-9. That one going to sting, as it could be the nail in the coffin on the FCIAC playoff hopes for the Falcons. Girls lacrosse, New Canaan beating Fox Lane out of state 13-3, and the Staples Wreckers girls tennis defeating St. Joe's 7-0. Hopefully, we've got baseball for you on the HAN network this afternoon. Our 4 p.m. start at Staples has been moved up to 2:30, but we'll have a decision on that game at 12:30. That according to Staples head coach Jack McFarland, as they continue to decide how they will handle the upcoming weather. We're going to have more on that weather shortly. For now, we're going to go back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And we're going to step out for a break, come back and recap some of the top stories we're following today, as well as give you one final look at the forecast coming up after this.
At Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And right now, during Ram Truck Month, get up to $14,000 off on all in-stock 2017 Ram 1500 pickups. Come in and see us for details. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Ridgefield, PambyZone.com.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Ortho Connecticut Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Ortho Connecticut Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 4 locations: Norwalk, Darien, Westport, and Danbury. Go to myorthoct.com, like them on Facebook.
Create your dream home at Laurel Ridge. 3 bedrooms, 2-car garages, finished basements, wooded and lake views, recreation facilities galore. Stay connected to your local lifestyle with the convenience of being just minutes away from Fairfield County. Luxury townhomes that are smart, elegant, custom, and maintenance-free. Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, recapping some of the top stories we're following today. Shelton police are looking for help identifying a woman they say stole the purse of an 86-year-old shopper. Now, police have surveillance photos of that suspect and her car. Now, this happened last Tuesday on May 8th around 3:30 in the afternoon. An 86-year-old woman was shopping at the ShopRite on Bridgeport Avenue in Shelton, and while shopping, she walked away from her shopping cart, leaving her purse inside. Now, police say moments later the woman depicted in the surveillance photographs stole that purse out of the shopping cart and then left the store. That suspect left the store in a blue Ford Explorer and then went across the street to TJ Maxx, allegedly fraudulently using that victim's credit card there. Now, if anyone recognizes the woman or the vehicle in the photographs, they are urged to contact the Shelton Police at 203-924-1544. And in Monroe, 2 individuals were injured when a chemical fire broke out at Axle Plastics Research Laboratories on Monday. At approximately 2:20 in the afternoon on May 14th, fire, EMS, and police responded to Axle Plastics, located at 50 Cambridge Drive, for reported fire in the building with an injury. Now, this was a chemical fire that was extinguished prior to the fire department's arrival, that according to Monroe Volunteer Assistant Chief Kevin Catalano. Now, 2 employees were injured in the incident and transported to a local hospital by EMS. The extent of the injuries are still not known. Now, the cause of that incident is under investigation by the Monroe Fire Marshal's Office and the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And in other news, police in New Haven are investigating after a 15-year-old boy was shot and injured on Monday night. WTNH reports that officers responded to Orchard Street around 8:45 for a report of a shooting. Authorities say a 15-year-old boy was shot by a masked man while he was standing on the front porch of a home. They say that teen was taken to Yale New Haven Hospital and is in stable condition. Now, the shooting remains under investigation, and police say there is no suspect information at this time, but they ask anyone who may have witnessed the crime or who has any information to contact them at 203-946-6304. And the Stamford Advocate reports that a city police sergeant who took the initiative to hide in some bushes and stake out a car burglar's favorite parking lot is being credited with the arrest of a habitual downtown thief over the weekend. Now, according to Police Captain Dietrich Hone, around 8:30 on Friday, Sergeant George Moran stepped out of his supervisor's SUV and began waiting in the rear parking lot at 595 Summer Street in hopes of finding a car break-in suspect who had frequented that area. Well, about an hour after he began waiting in the rear of the lot behind some bushes, Moran saw a tall black male with a bald head wearing a blue hooded sweatshirt and using the flashlight in his cell phone to look into the car interiors. Now, that man was later identified as 54-year-old Kenneth McKell. Moran then saw that man check several door handles to see if the cars were locked while looking around to see if anyone was watching him. Moran at the time called for backup officers to respond silently in their cruisers, but an ambulance heading south on Summer Street with its sirens going apparently spooked that suspect. He jumped the rear fence of the lot, then ran north through some rear parking lots behind Bedford Street. Moran, however, was able to keep an eye on that suspect, and officers eventually located him on Bedford Street. Now, McKell, who lives on Southwood Drive in Stamford, was charged with 6 counts of attempted third-degree burglary, possession of burglary tools, as well as hindering prosecution and criminal trespass. And in other news, changes are coming to Stratford Elementary schools next year, though not everyone is happy about it. The Stratford Academy campus will revert from a magnet school to a neighborhood school after a 6-1 vote on Monday by the Board of Education. The school board also voted unanimously to scale back busing between the north and south ends of town. Now, those changes, which will take effect next year, were planned to help the district save money in the coming school year. School officials say that district needs to save about $2.2 million after the town council authorized a $111 million spending plan for the new school year. Now, many in the audience at Stratford High School jeered the votes as that brief meeting drew to a close. Some could be heard yelling, "Shame on all of you," in the direction of board members, while another person outside the school shouted, "Is this making Stratford great again?" Now, Superintendent Janet Robinson has said that the forced busing that went on in Stratford since 1990 is not needed as much now since the town schools are more diverse than they used to be. She said the changes will go into effect next fall. And you can get more on that story at stratfordstar.com. But let's get one final look at your forecast now with Frank Granito. Frank.
All right, again, Kate, we're looking at partly sunny skies right now. That from earlier today. Not looking good heading towards the afternoon. The National Weather Service has released a severe storm warning around Fairfield County here. We could be seeing wind gusts up above 50 miles per hour, potential for large hail, damaging winds was the way they described it, as well as flash flooding with these strong thunderstorms expected in the late afternoon through the early evening. Should calm down a little bit overnight, maybe 1 or 2 passing thunderstorms and showers heading into tomorrow morning. Cooler out tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies. We'll see some rolling showers throughout the day. Overcast overnight, should start to break by Thursday morning. It'll be a little bit warmer, and we should see the sun again with temperatures right around 75 degrees. Make sure you follow along with us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook this afternoon. We'll give you an update, hopefully at 2:30. We're at Staples High for baseball, but we will have an answer on that within the next hour. Kate, back over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And we are going to wrap things up here on your coffee break, but we'll see you tomorrow at 11 with the latest local news and more. Have a great day.